for gold dust in the valley of bloodlust, under the sun misunderstood. I'm making my way down. This valley's a ghost town. I'm gonna strike.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us on the On the Gold podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Hoagland, joined by my co-host, Mr. Kevin Bell. Good afternoon, Kevin.
How you doing, Kev?
I'm doing fantastic. How about you, man? What's going on?
Yep, I'm doing good. Doing good.
All right, so
Beautiful sunny day.
it is a beautiful sunny day. Even here in Arizona, it's almost a little chilly, but you know what? No reason for a preamble on this one. Let's just get right to this subject. This is about COVID-19 and social distancing versus social isolation.
Yeah, it's a tough thing.
It is a tough thing, and go ahead.
I was going to say, and I think that, for a lot of people that are not used to being shut in their home, it slips towards that pretty easy.
Right. But is there really a reason to be shut in your home?
Not as far as I'm concerned.
No.
You've got to be careful, but there's alternatives, and I know we're talking about them today.
Yeah. So let's just jump into this. Social distancing and social isolation are two completely different things. And unfortunately, what I'm seeing is an incredible amount of social isolation. And you know what? I'm not even going to call it social isolation, just isolation. A lot of people are becoming isolationist, and it's not healthy. It's not good for you. It's not something you want to do, especially in a time like this.
Yes, absolutely. It's the difficult thing is that there's plenty of things that we can do, especially as minors, that don't allow us or don't require us to have contact with people. And unfortunately, instead of going that way, we tend to shut ourselves in and focus on the news and all these, the endless tirade. And you slip towards that isolation really fast.
Right. Yes, I totally agree. And it's not just about us being prospectors and a lot of those folks becoming isolationist or it's anybody listening to this podcast. I don't care if you have ever gone out prospecting or not. If you are sitting at your home and you are sitting within your four walls and all you are doing is sitting in front of the computer or sitting in front of the TV and you're being bombarded by everything about coronavirus and COVID-19 and all of this, it is not healthy. It's not healthy to do that because what happens is this gets into your head. And I've actually seen this happening with a few people that I know, that the longer that they sit in front of the television, the longer that they're surfing the internet, the longer that they're putting themselves into this self-isolation, the darker, I guess is going to be the easiest way to say it, the darker they are becoming.
Yes, that's the unfortunate side effect.
And I would hope that people would just not participate in isolation. Social distancing, absolutely. I mean, look, as miners, as prospectors, we social distance no matter what we do. It's part of our makeup. It's part of what we go out and do when we're out in the field. Last Thursday, you and Sean went out and you did your social distancing. You were on the gold. You went out, you found some gold, right?
Yeah, you betcha. We found almost a 1 3/4.
So now you're over an ounce for the year, or I'm sorry.
Yep. Well, half an ounce so far this year, an ounce including last year.
And that's not really bad for just the short amount of time that you've been out. So, and I'm not going to get into your gold recovery and different things like that, but you're practicing your social distance. Now, that doesn't mean that you just go off and you just do whatever you want to do, and we'll get into that one as well. But, you did yours last Thursday. You're going to go out and you're going to do it again next Thursday because you have your mining Thursday. I got a new machine. I got a new machine sent to me that I'm going to do some field testing with, and I'm going to go out and use it. So I will be out tomorrow filming and testing and using this machine. hopefully finding some gold nuggets. If I put the coil over some gold, I know I'm going to get it out of the ground. But that's distancing. That's not sitting in my house thinking about going out and doing it. It's not sitting in my house making up excuses of why I should not go out and do it. It's going out and doing it. I can tell you that the world is bad. If you're sitting in front of the television and you're being told over and over and over, it's bad, 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 social distance, what happens is, and it just happens, your mind starts to get into that isolationist mindset. And then what happens is you go to the grocery store because you have no other opportunity or you have no other choice but to go to the grocery store because you need to get some items. And they'd start not having those items, and then you're starting to get pissed off. And then you've had social distance beat into your head so hard over these last few weeks that when somebody passes you in a shopping cart with their shopping cart in an aisle, I have seen this happening. I've watched this happen. I went to the store a couple of days ago to pick up some basics that I needed, and I watch people in bizarre avoidance around each other in a grocery store.
Right.
And anger, and people being angry. Couldn't get a loaf of bread. All right, that's fine. Guess what? You can't get a loaf of bread. You can get a loaf of bread tomorrow. But I'm not going to get out tomorrow. Yeah. I'm not going to go anywhere. This is the one time of the week that I came out of my house and I can't get anything and I'm mad. Well, then use a shopping service. Do curbside pickup. Do something like that. But you've got to start releasing and getting this anger and this mindset out of your head.
Yes. And the hardest thing is it's that isolation breeds that fear and resentment that just turns into that thing you just said. When they actually do make a foray out and something doesn't go well, now you're angry on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy. And I'm seeing this. And social distancing is one thing. Isolation, again, is another. Don't isolate yourself. Do not isolate yourself. Take precautions. Let's talk about that. I just wrote an article that's up on the GPAA website, the Gold Prospectors Association of America website, goldprospectors.org. Go read that article. It talks about what to do. But and for the people that don't know you and I and have never, and maybe those that have never heard this, let's talk about the precautions that we have to take because we are in a higher risk. Actually, we're in probably, if you read over things, we're in probably one of the highest risk groups that there is. Do I buy into that? With them saying that, with somebody telling me I'm in a high risk, I know that. And then when they come back and say, you know what, you're in an even higher risk. Okay, I'll buy that. But there's only so much you can do.
Well, you take the precautions that you need to, and they talk about it, simple things, keeping your hands clean, don't touch your face, all those things are important, and you don't stop doing that, but you don't stop living.
Right.
And, I have to tell you, one of the things that I do at home when I'm sitting at home, I make sure I go through my gold stuff. I get it ready for the next week. And so I'm staged. I know I have all the stuff I need, so I'm not going to forget something. And when it's time, I'm looking forward to Thursday, and that's the big thing for me is I don't even watch television anymore. Like I said, I'll catch a little bit on the printed media, just enough to, know where things are. But other than that, I'm focusing on the positive, not the ongoing madness.
Right. I'm not, and I'm in that situation where I don't have like real television. I don't have cable TV. I use Amazon Prime. I've got Amazon Prime and I've got Netflix. And I've got a couple of apps, and I can sit there and I can watch like ABC All Access where I can pick up some news. But I got to tell you, I turned the news on the other day. on my ABC All Access, I brought up the ABC News. I'm watching that, and I'm listening to some of the things that are being said. I made it less than 2 minutes before I just turned it off. And I'm not hiding. I'm not hiding from anything. I'm not saying if I don't hear it, it'll go away. And I'm not refusing to accept it. But you accept it, then you move on. And I started thinking about it. Where am I getting my news? I've got 2 spots on the computer where I'm really getting all of my news. And I'm not watching videos. I'm reading the printed text. I've got a local station, a local news station where I read articles and read what's going on. And then I've got a national one that is tied in with the CDC and the WHO and so on like that. And I don't watch the videos. I just read the text and then move on. It gives all the information that I need for that particular day. And I check those, and I realize I am checking those every day. And I see the updates that have happened overnight and different things like that. And I just move on. Today, before I made this call, and while you and I were talking about doing this podcast and the importance of this podcast as far as I'm concerned, I brought up some stuff. I brought up some things on YouTube. And then I looked over to the right-hand side. And video after video after video after video after video. All of the doom and gloom. Not a single discussion about, or a single video about, hey, you know what? We understand. Let's talk about what social distancing is. Let's talk about this. It's all doom and gloom. All right, so let's talk about social distancing for a little bit. Let's talk about how to prepare yourself, how to do the things that you're supposed to do. It works for this. Social distancing absolutely works with this because of the age of social media and social this and social that. It's easy. It's an easy thing to say. So social distancing, keep to your 6 feet apart, do this, do that.
The hardest thing for me is to, there's a lot of crowds in the area. We have a kind of a concentrated, all of our services are concentrated in a very short area. So what do? I try to go in and get fuel and the things that I need to go out in those times when people aren't there.
Sure.
I know that most people are working or they're out, doing other things. I go really early in the morning. I know that people aren't there, or I'll go at like 10 o'clock in the morning after people have left, to go to work. Those are the kind of things that you can do. When the traffic patterns are, and when the people patterns are good and bad. Most people know that just as a daily, it's a daily part of their lives.
And
use those things to your advantage. You don't want to isolate yourself from people. You minimize your risk.
Right. The difference between distance and isolation. The patterns. You go at 6 o'clock in the morning before the Sacramento traffic comes through. You go at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's social distancing. Isolationist is the guy who is going to the gas station at 2 o'clock in the morning because there's nobody there, or he feels it, and that's the only time he feels safe.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I'm not going to knock you. I'm not going to beat up on you. I'm not going to beat up on you for going to the gas station at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not. But what I'm going to beat up on you on, and what I need you to think about, is if you're doing everything in your life just like that, so you're isolating yourself completely, please rethink what you're doing. Distancing is fine. Isolation is not healthy. It's not healthy for you. It's not physically healthy for you. It's not mentally healthy for you at all. And when I talk about Kevin and I being in high risk, we are in high risk.
It doesn't stop me one bit, but I do watch what I'm doing. I'm very, very good about taking away the risk by taking care of business and doing the things I'm supposed to.
Right. So let's talk about that.
That's the difference.
Let's talk about those things, because we talk about that. I've written about it. You and I have talked about it over and over and over. You're writing some things about what you do, but let's just talk about the simple things. I'm not going to go to the gas station at 2 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because I'm going to have to do the same. I'm not going to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning just to go to the gas station. And even if I did, I'm going to go through the same precautionary steps that I've been doing for 25 years and you've been doing for years and years and years as well. I'm going to make sure that I don't touch my face. When I get to the gas station, when I'm at the gas pump, I'm going to take the precautions. I'm not going to glove up, and I'm not going to do all sorts of other stuff. I've watched people just put on gloves just to tap, and one guy put on leather gloves just to touch the buttons. And he tapped the buttons and he slid his card in, did this, and it just amazed me what happened next. Puts his card in, pulls his card out, taps in his PIN number, grabbed the nozzle, put the nozzle in, and then wiped his face.
Oh,
every precaution that he had done, completely,
totally
out the door. When this whole thing started, they told people not to wear a mask. And I think, and what I read yesterday is that they're kind of changing that. They said, if you're not sick, don't wear a mask. The reason is most people don't know how to wear a mask properly. And they reach up and they start fiddling with the mask. They touch their skin, and that was the main reason. Okay, so at the gas pump, you just are precautionary. Don't touch your face. If use hand sanitizer. And I did see somebody the other day also while I was at the next pump over, and this guy had some hand sanitizer, and I loved it because he put some on his hands. And you could tell, just put it on and kind of rubbed it in a little bit, touched his buttons, did his code, did all that other stuff, rubbed a little bit more in his hand, grabbed the pump. Hey, guess what? He was sanitizing the pump for the next guy along with him, and he felt really, really good about it. Now, was that really all the right things to do? Did he have to cover the pump in hand sanitizer? Did he need to do this? Did he need to do that? It made him feel very, very safe and secure, and I watched him, and the guy was very conscious. He never touched his face. He never did. He kept his hands right there in front of him. And when said and done, he put up the gas pump, he pulled his receipt, he opened up his door and put on some hand sanitizer before he even got back into the truck. All right.
Perfect.
Yeah, it is. It is perfect. And it's something that guys like you and I have to watch out for. And it's something that everybody should be watching out for, whether you are high risk or not. Those are the things you need to do.
You rehearse what you're going to do. You have to retrain yourself to do the right thing during these times. And the best thing I found is to do it right all the time. I use the same thing that I've been doing. I've been doing it for years.
Yeah, so have I.
Hand sanitizer in your truck.
And it may sound like we're being really like off the wall crazy and like way down in a rabbit hole and all of this other stuff. But you know what? We're still outside. We're still out doing things. These are things that Kevin and I and countless, probably millions of the other people do on a day-to-day basis. Just because we're at a higher risk or this or that, but it's just good. It's good practices. You and I, and I think we've talked about it in different places that we've been. When you start washing your hands and hot and cold water, okay? There was a doctor years ago that says, you know what? I don't care if you don't have hot water. You can use cold water. Just as long as you're using soap and you're using it for the length of time necessary to actually clean off anything that's on your hands. Okay.
Right.
I can buy into that. I can buy into that. So we're not talking about doom and gloom here. We're talking about just standard practices that you do, that you and I do all year round. And the simple fact that you cannot find hand sanitizer anywhere. Well, I've been making my own for years. Aloe vera gel, a little 91% alcohol, and you're going to end up cutting it down to about 60, 70, 80%. Tad bit of vinegar. Don't care if it smells good. Just got to work, that type of thing.
Yep. Well, I was going to say, and thank you for giving me that, because I use that now.
Yeah. And like I said, it doesn't have to smell good. So, and then the one you gave me, which I thought was brilliant, the alcohol in a spray bottle and spraying your shoes. I've done that for years, but not with an alcohol bottle. I've done it with like Lysol or something like that. Right. And I like the idea, 91% alcohol, by the way, folks. There was a microbiologist that came out and gave this great article that said, don't go out and spend your money on 91% alcohol thinking that it's going to be the greatest germicide that it is, because at 91%, it kills the membrane, but it doesn't necessarily kill what's inside the membrane because it dissipates so quickly. 70 to 80% is your best range. So I thought that was a great tidbit, and I did some research on that, and absolutely, yeah. Sometimes at 91% because of the dissipation level and the speed, 91% will kill a membrane, but it doesn't kill exactly everything that's in it, and then it causes it to live a little bit longer. All right, I want this crap dead now. All right, what else?
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say that's what I use a lot is when you were talking about the evaporation, we spray it till it's wet. And what do? You make a couple laps around your shoes.
Yeah.
You don't just give it a couple of squirts and think it's good. Make it wet, couple of laps.
Yeah.
And that makes a huge difference. Like you said, it's on there for long enough to kill the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's simple and
Right.
It's easy to do.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
it's cheap.
It is, and it is cheap. So we can go on and on and on and talk about all these different things, but think about the things that you do, and think about the things you're not doing. Think about the things that every year around flu and cold season that you see. You always hear about this. Don't touch your face. All right, well, don't touch your face. Protect yourself. Do these different things. Do all of these things. I don't handle a lot of money during this time of the year. If I have to handle cash and different things like that, I sanitize. I don't shake hands. I really don't shake a lot of hands this time of the year. It's really not rude not to shake somebody's hand if you tell them why. And then if you do shake their hand and you sanitize right after it, it's not rude to sanitize.
Right.
And
it's more socially accepted now not to shake hands. Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I think a lot of things that I do are over the top, but I haven't had the flu in years and years and years and years. I got pneumonia once because I ran myself almost completely ragged and just almost killed myself traveling.
Well, that's the burning the candle at both ends, not the cold and flu.
Yeah, that was burning the candle at both ends, that type of thing. What else? What other things? What are some of the other things? And it's when I wrote that article, I actually had to say I had to actually stop and think about the things that I do, because a lot of them have just become so motor memory. You know these things. You've learned it since you were a little kid in school, and they talk about all these things. Let's get back to what I think is the crux of all of this, and that's social distance versus isolation. Your life doesn't have to stop. You just have to be prepared. Your life should not stop. You have to have control over your surroundings. Social distance is a great thing. It really is.
And you just, all you're looking to do is minimize your risk. And the easiest way to do that is to do things, that don't involve a lot of people. In other words, you're not in high traffic areas or high density areas. You're doing things on your own, maybe with a trusted friend, like when we were talking about, Sean and Mining Thursday. Sean is like me. He takes care of himself. He manages the risk. So I don't worry about him.
Right.
And then we can go out and we go mining every Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big thing. We both look forward to Thursdays,
yes.
But do those things, I'm trying to think of, the things that we do normally, fishing or hunting or whatever, do those things in a way that you minimize your exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Don't stop doing those things and shut yourself in.
Exactly.
That's not healthy.
That's the whole point there. I'm a prospector. You're a prospector. There are days that we don't see another human being unless we're at the gas pump getting gas or stopping at the store and doing those little things like that on the way to. I'm not going to go get my gas at 2:00 in the morning. That's an isolationist. I'm not going to pull up to a pump and be concerned about all of the people around me. That's kind of an isolationist. I'm going to be prepared and I'm going to be aware of those people, but I'm not going to be scared and I'm not going to be angry because there's other people around me. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing people getting angry. They may be on their way to go do something, but they've isolated themselves for such a period of time that they're getting angry, and that's just not necessary.
No.
And right now, a positive mental attitude will help you more than anything else that you can think of. That and being prepared and doing and just being habitual about protecting yourself. But a positive mental attitude is as important to your health as not catching a bug. It really is. And you've got to think about that. You've got to have a positive mental attitude. People that are getting COVID-19 and the people that are recovering, there was this guy on YouTube that lives here in Arizona that went through, he's in self-quarantine, he tested positive, he did these little YouTube videos. I think in the total there's like 18 minutes of it. And he talked about, oh man, the headaches were hell. The headaches were horrible. The hacking and the coughing were horrible. But I just kept thinking about how great it was going to be, because when everything was all said and done, and I'm paraphrasing this, I'm not quoting him, his fiance and his 6-week-old baby were like on the other side of the door. And he just kept this wonderful positive attitude. They're over there. I'm in here. As soon as I get good, I'll be over there. If you're a prospector, go prospecting. If you're not a prospector, but by God, you ought to be, because you talk about the greatest greatest social distancing that there is. Yesterday, I got this new machine, and I've just I'm so happy. I put it together yesterday. I'm out in the garage. I'm just carrying on. I'm out in the garage. I'm out in the front yard. I'm doing this. I jump in my buggy. I drive up over the hill, down into a wash. I turn it on because now I'm away from people. I'm away from everything else in the power lines. And I spent like 20 minutes just learning some of the different things. Tomorrow, I'm going to go out to a real nugget patch. I'm going to go out and I'm going to go hunt that machine. I know that when I go out there tomorrow, I'm going to have to stop and get gas. So I'm going to take my regular precautions. I'm going to have my head on a swivel and watch those people that are around me, and I'm going to make sure that I keep my social distance. That's what you have to do.
Right. Be diligent.
Be diligent, but live.
That's right. But live. That's a good, that should be the motto that you put on your door. Be diligent, but live.
Yeah. Man, you know what? I'm on too much of a soapbox. This has gone for a very, very long time. And I think I could probably just start all over and say, hey everybody, Kevin Hoagland, the host of On the Gold, and with my co-host Kevin Bell. And today we're going to talk about the COVID-19. Here's what you do. Be safe. Take your precautions. Know what they are. Don't touch your face. Don't do this. All of those other things. But don't forget to live. Don't become an isolationist. Yep. When I talk to people that I've known for years that are, I spent an hour on the phone with a friend of mine who has turned into that isolationist that's bothersome. And it doesn't have to be that way. My neighbor across the street goes out every other day with a friend, and they find a new place to go hike every other day. Every other day.
Yep.
So that's.
But when he comes back, he's got a smile on his face.
Absolutely, because he's out there living. My neighbor sent me a text earlier today, and this was the coolest text in the world. It's great. Let me see if I can find this thing real quick. And I'm so thankful for this. Hi, neighbor. Just curious as to how you are doing. Do you need anything? Don't hesitate to ask. I'd be more than happy to run some errands if you don't want to go out. How cool is that?
Wow.
And, and my response to him was, thank you so very much. And I extend the offer back to you. That's a community. Yeah. That's a community. Yeah. That's a community of neighbors reaching out and helping each other. That's not social distance. That's not isolation. That's distancing. My neighbor and I talked to each other from about 15 feet away the other day over the fence line. We had a great conversation. We talked a little bit. I've got another neighbor that I was talking to. They were on one side of the street. I was on the other side of the street. We just had a conversation. That's the same thing you do when you live in a neighborhood. You think about it. You live in a neighborhood. you have these conversations. It doesn't mean that you run right up to their yard. I mean, I've had great conversations over a fence line or across the street with my neighbors. That's social distancing. Getting out and going prospecting is social distancing. Sitting in your house, afraid to live because you are afraid you're going to die, is not healthy. It's not healthy at all. All right, I'm off my. I'm done. I am off my soapbox.
Are you officially off the box now?
I am off the box. It's all yours. I'm going to put myself on mute. Kevin, talk to everybody and just talk about what you do.
And just very quick, the biggest thing is take the precautions you need to, but the biggest thing is plan trips, plan time out, and then put your stuff together and get excited about doing it. And as you do a few of those, you'll suddenly want to do more. And the worm is going to turn. At some point, we're going to get a handle on this, and things will slowly return back to normal. But by the same token, you've got to take time to take care of yourself mentally now, or like Kevin said, it just gets darker and darker. So plan those things, take the precautions, and just go out and live. And that's really all I'm doing right now. So I think we're good, Kev. I think we should close this out and look forward to the next podcast where we get back on those things that miners want to hear.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm going to close out with one last thing. Somebody else that I know, that we both know, that was talking about you and I still going out and doing things. They made the remark that because we're such high risk, that it was a shocking remark. They asked, are you guys just out there living to die? And I knew exactly what he meant. Like, we're out there. We just don't care if anything happens to us. I'm not living to die. I'm living to live.
I'm living to live.
I'm living to live, and I'm living to enjoy my life. We want you to live. We want you to get out. We want you to talk to the neighbor. Go prospecting. Don't be afraid.
Yep.
Live.
Absolutely.
Live your life by doing the things that you do to protect yourself. Live to live.